Well, as I said to you, a lot of my life, I've never been educated in an Adventist institution. It was always state schools and then at university. And what's always amazed me is that probably the cleverest people that I've ever met, most of them, deny there's a God. And often I've been challenged. How can you say there's a God? They could accept it, emotionally I could accept it, but intellectually, how can I possibly believe there is a God? And so I want to share one of the intellectual reasons and arguments that you can counter, because I think one of the most amazing things is what was brought back to life in about 1200 AD by Leo Fibonacci. He was playing around with figures, and he had this little project where he was going to try and calculate how many rabbits would be born if you start with just one breeding pair, and they had a boy and a girl as soon as they could. And when he was playing around with these figures, he came up with this mathematical sequence where you start with 0 rabbits, then you have one rabbit, and then you have 2 rabbits. And what he worked out was what is now known as the Fibonacci Sequence. And so these numbers look quite meaningless. And with a funny start, 0, 1, 1, 2, what you then do and what he then did as a sequence is that every number after that, from 3, he got by adding the preceding numbers. So you'll get to 3, you get to 3 because you've added the 2 preceding numbers, 1 and 2. You get to 5 because you add the preceding 2 numbers, 3 and 2. 8, you add 5 and 3, and so on. And what does that mean? Well, what he then discovered, of course, is that when you actually put it into a graph form, and you start off with the 1 and 1 in the middle, and then the 5, and then the 8, you actually get what is now known as the golden ratio. And what is the importance of the golden ratio? Well, the golden ratio is actually one of the design building blocks that we see throughout creation. Whenever you look at flowers, when you look at seeds, you'll invariably see the Fibonacci principle. It's in this sunflower seed. When you have a look at the growth rings on trees, the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio is in there. Because the golden ratio is something that we all instinctively know. As soon as we see someone, we can say to them ourselves, they're either attractive or they're not attractive. We can see King Charles and we know straight away his ears are too big. We can see someone else and we know their eyes are too close together. Now, why is that? It's because God has designed us with the golden ratio. The golden ratio is throughout our very being. We actually can see a building that we love, one of the most famous buildings in the world, and what do we see? It's got the golden ratio on it. Another wonderful building that we all love, the Parthenon. It's full of this golden ratio. We look at the most famous painting in the world, and what do we see? We see the golden ratio. Because once you actually get into the sequence and you start dividing 3 into the next 5, and then 5 into 8, and then so on, you will get what is called the golden ratio. Because the golden ratio is 1.61. So when you actually see somebody's face, it's full of the golden ratio. So the most attractive people have the most perfect golden ratios. So the golden ratios of the most beautiful women are measured from the top of their nose to the middle of their lip, and from their lip to their chin. And that area should be 1.6 compared to this area here. And that golden ratio is in our very DNA. In the DNA, you get the golden ratio in the helices. You also get it in its length and its breadth. And cosmetic surgeons actually rate the beauty of women with the golden ratio. The most beautiful woman, according to the golden ratio, is Jodie Comer. And sadly, even Jodie doesn't get 100%. She only gets 94. But when you go home, look it up and give yourself a rating. And what will probably happen is that you'll get furious. You'll get furious and you'll probably want to clench your wrists and your fists because you're probably not as beautiful as Doreen. But when you do that, then have a look at this, because what you're actually creating is the golden ratio. And then point your arms out and you'll see something even more amazing. You've got the golden ratio between the first digit, the second digit, and the third digit. You've got the golden ratio from your hand to your elbow to your shoulder. So what does all that mean? It means, of course, that God loves beautiful things. And when he created us, he was able to say, it's not just good. And when he created women, he was able to say, very good. But he's not just interested in appearance, because what he really wants you to do is to stretch that arm out and make the connection. And that's what Sabbath School is all about. We are now going to study our lesson inside out. And there are some great questions that I want you to wrestle with. And one of the big questions I'm going to be asking my Sabbath School class, and you might be able to solve this for me too, is why did Jesus use different techniques in the healing? One of the most offensive things you can do to anybody is to spit on them. So why did he use spit in these miracles? Leave it with you. Inside out, let's divide for classes. Have a wonderful Sabbath, have a wonderful lesson, and we'll see you again next week. So have a great week, and God bless you all.